Hello, everybody. Welcome to our behind-the-scenes recording of our 47th live show. This is Mark Torres, host of Came from the Radio. I'm here with a plethora of co-hosts and guests, but I'm here with our senior correspondent, Charlie Saladino.
How's everybody doing?
We have our guest from Shadow Rabbit Clay Guy Art. We have Blue Shadow Rabbit.
Yo.
From the comic book school, we have Buddy Scalera.
Oh,
wait, we lost Buddy.
Oh, hey everybody, it's me, Buddy Scalera. On the radio, you don't see me, but I'm here and super excited.
We have Kris Burgos.
What's up? Hi, that's me. I'm Kris.
We have A.A. Rubin.
How you doing, everybody?
And we have D. Alley.
Hi, pleasure to be here.
So we'll be starting in just a minute. I'm going to be starting to let people into the chat. All right. And here we go.
The following is brought to you in part by MFC Studios. The views of the show's host and guests do not necessarily reflect those of the management, owners, or staff of this radio station. And now, it came from the radio.
Yapatoy, and welcome once again to It Came From the Radio, the official of the Big Apple Con. This is your host, Mark Torres, speaking. With me via virtual listening for our 47th live show, courtesy of the East Meadows Public Library. We have none other than our senior correspondent, Charlie Saladino.
Yes, I have a toy, and welcome everybody.
On today's show, we're going to have a plethora of guests. So we have friend of the show and Claymaker extraordinaire. We have Shadow Rabbit.
Hey.
We have from the comic book school, none other than Buddy Scalera.
Hey, nice to meet you. Hi, everybody out there in Radio Land.
We have D. Alley.
Hi, nice to be here. Thanks for listening.
We have Kris Burgos.
Hi guys, very awesome to be here.
And we have A.A. Rubin.
Hey, everyone. Glad to be here.
Your energy is so awesome, A.A. right there. It's amazing. So we're going to be talking to, with, and about all our guests. But before we do that, we have to take it away with the news. The news is brought to you in part by the fine folks at the Big Apple Con, of which we are the official radio show of, celebrating over 25 years of comic bookness and pop culture stuff. For more information, go to www.bigapplecc.com. And their next convention is scheduled for the 25th and 26th of September, which is their Big Apple Silver Anniversary Expo. Tickets are on sale now, and I don't think they've announced a headliner as of yet. Also, the news is brought to you in part by the fine folks at sci-fi.radio. That's sci-fi for your Wi-Fi. And I want to give out shout outs for our Patreons, of which there are Danny Grillo, award-winning director Jared Burrell, Kyle Horn, Millie Portez, Newsday famous Dresden Media, Unjikun, Shadow Rabbit Art, who's here, the Huracan, and Yasmin and Ray. If you guys want to have your own little shout out, go to www.patreon.com and look up It Came From Radio in the search bar. And for $1 a month, you can get your shout out on our show. Since we have a plethora of guests today, we're just going to take away with one bit of sad news. So, actress Marjorie Armstrong Post, better known as just Marky Post, died recently of cancer. While Marky appeared in numerous shows, she is perhaps best known for her roles of Terry Michaels in 64 episodes of the TV series The Fall Guy, which ran from 1982 to 1985. She was Georgie Ann Lottie Hartman in 54 episodes of the CBS show Hearts of Fire, opposite John Ritter from 1992 to 1995. And of course, that of Christine Sullivan in 159 episodes of the NBC series Night Court, which ran from 1984 to 1992, reprising her role of Christine in the meta episode of 30 Rock in 2008. Of note, Markey also played the mom, June Darby, in a Transformers Prime animated series, which ran from 2010 to 2013. And also, she died just 27 days after the death of her Night Court co-star, Charlie Robinson, which we talked about in last month's live show. You guys fans of Marky Post?
I had a tremendous crush on Marky Post the minute I saw the Fall Guy, or on the Fall Guy, and still do. It's such a sin. It's a shame. But anyway, yeah.
Did you
And
ever
she
get a
also
chance to meet her?
played. She also played something about Mary. She played her mom.
Yes, that's right. I forgot
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah.
That was, yeah, I completely forgot. Well done, senior correspondent Charlie Saladino.
So anyway, yes, I was very sad about that.
So what about you, Lou? Shadow Rabbit, did you fan of Marky Post?
I can't say I'm super familiar, but rest in power.
All right, fair enough. What about you comic book school guys? Buddy, Marky Post fan?
Yeah, I grew up watching Night Court. It was such a fun show, and she was great. She was just she sparkled with energy, and when you see that name, you're like, oh my god, I love her. She brought a lot of brightness to the screen.
Yeah, I agree. I think what's odd, a lot of people always say I had a biggest crush on her when I was younger, as a senior correspondent Charlie Saladino said. I did as well. What about you, AA? You a fan of Marky?
As actually Night Court, I only remember from when I was really, really young. My mom used to watch it, so I can't say I'm super familiar. But cancer sucks, and
Fair enough, fair enough. D, Night Court fan, Marky Post fan?
Oh, yes, definitely a Night Court fan. It was one of the shows that we all used to watch like as a family, which is kind of weird considering the content I was a kid in the 80s, but it was like one of the first things I think that my dad could laugh at and we could laugh at too and watch together. So it wasn't like a kid show and we could all watch it, but I always thought she was the greatest. So.
What about you? Where is it? Oh no, I lost it.
Oh,
Kris,
me?
you're there.
Yeah,
Yes.
me. I'm here. Hi. Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, it's a little before my time. But as AA already said, it's always pretty rough to hear someone's passing, especially when they have a following, because a lot of these entertainers or even creators in general, they have fans, they have a base, a following, and it's just rough to hear that people go down like that. I don't know.
Yeah. Joining us late, but still with us is our very own Pronto Comics, Dominic Definition Man Sperano.
Am I late if I say I'm going to be late?
Actually, you're just early for the next show.
There you go.
So
Dominic
we were just
arrives
talking
exactly when
about
he's supposed to.
we were just talking about Marky Post, who had passed away, for our sad news of this show. You a Marky Post fan?
No,
Just,
because
all right.
I don't even know who we're talking about.
The girl from Night Court, Marky Post, Christine
Oh,
Sullivan.
yes. I
Aha.
did like her on Night Court, of course. Yeah. So I'm a casual fan.
All right, fair enough, fair enough. It's funny because they've been talking about bringing the show back, and now
Not with her.
Mac died, and now Marky Post had passed away, and Harry Anderson, which was the lead, he also passed away a long time ago. So it's crazy that they're going to try to bring this back.
Also another funny lady from that show, and forgive me, her first name was Selma, and she played
She was the original bailiff.
Yeah, and she was on the show like a chimney. She just kept smoking and smoking, and she was hysterical on that show.
Yeah, I used to love that show, and she was replaced by Marsha Warfield, who's still alive and kicking. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, anyway, yeah, that show has a lot of about three people who are gone from there, 3, 4.
I believe it's 5.
It's gonna make it
actually.
very hard to bring the show back then.
Well, they're
Yeah.
gonna have it like it's the daughter of Harry Anderson is supposed
Okay.
to Selma
Well, then,
Diamond.
like a
Look
like
at
a
that.
reboot.
Thank you.
Thank you, Selma Diamond. Yeah.
You could have just
Yeah.
shouted it out,
Well,
I don't know.
one
You
of
know it.
one of
My
the
Google crew,
funniest.
I have a feeling that I'm just one of those people that I have to look it up if I don't know it. So, but I know not everybody is. So I have a tendency to just kind of slip it in under the wire rather than shout out at people.
Well done.
Yeah.
Well done. So she was a young 70 years old.
Yeah.
Mm.
So that's wild.
70 is young. 70 is young.
Yeah.
and
Well,
still so beautiful. She was still an attractive lady.
I always liken her to like the Marianne of our time, of my age, because Marianne was like in the 70s and she was more of the 80s type wholesome young lady who was a TV
Well,
talented
and
actress.
That's a fair comparison.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
yeah.
So you're gonna say something, Charlie?
Yeah, I was going to say in the Fall Guy, there was this young lady, Heather Thompson or
Heather
something.
Thomas.
Heather Thomas, yeah. It's a sin because I met her at ABC. I should know her name. But Heather Thomas and Monkey Post were in that series.
Yes.
And it was definitely eye candy for young men.
Fair
Just
enough.
wanted to make that point.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Fair enough.
Is it
And
we need-
as the guys were for the girls. I mean, they had some nice looking guys on that show.
Yeah,
So-
I would agree. Dee, were you a family Fall Guy fan?
Eh,
Boy, you probably don't even know what Fall Guy was. You're
Actually,
young.
my father and my grandfather used to show us a lot of old stuff. So I was
Right, well-
raised on Buster Keaton and the Marx Brothers. After that,
Right.
everything's
Yeah.
late. So
Yeah, because it's like that's why I'm the senior correspondent. Mark asked me all these questions about stuff I've seen actually.
And you used to
But
work at
anyway.
ABC, so that helps.
Yeah.
So that's it for the sad news. We're gonna move right into our guest, well, one of our guests, friend of the show, Shadow Rabbit Art, Clay Guy. You were actually on one of our last shows in person in the studio.
Yeah, man.
over
Yeah.
a year.
In the before time.
That's right. I think the last actual guest we had, well, she's not here, was Jen.
Yes, but
Last time we were all together.
he was there. He was
Yeah.
part of our most cursiest show.
I
As
hope
a
that wasn't all
parent-
my fault.
It was like a Tarantino script that day.
We had interviewed the Power Ranger from the PowCon, Christopher Kamen Lee, and he has the record of the most curses on our show at 37. 37 curses.
And that was a blast interviewing him because I knew you were going to be going crazy in editing, Mark.
Yes,
It
I was.
hysterical.
Now, is that he has the record as a one sole guest? How many curses were in the Soprano con interviews?
As total, it's still not more than 37.
Really?
Yes.
Even the one that we did at that nightclub.
Yes, correct.
Wow.
Correct. Yes. I have to count. I have to make notes. So
Charlie,
yes.
next time you see the Soprano guys, tell them to up their count. They let me down.
I tried to do it this time, but they were all very subdued.
Seriously. They're getting older, you know.
Yeah. Artie
if that's a
Pasquale
challenge,
came
we
out.
might rise
Yeah.
to it.
I was
So
gonna say,
No,
are
it's
you
not a curse
challenging us?
challenge. Not a curse challenge. No.
Yeah.
Starro the Conqueror.
Let's go for the records, kids. Come on, let's do it.
So Shadow
Oh,
Rabbit,
man.
how have you been? That's
mean,
that's where I was
don't-
going with all
don't
that. How
challenge
have you
me,
been
man.
since that time?
Ah, that's an interestingly loaded question there, my man. I'm kicking along, man. What can I say?
You're
I'm
kicking
a little
along?
disappointed. We never got the zombies, but
Give it time. There's the
there's always
Delta
next
variant.
year.
knock on wood.
This year it's not done
I
yet.
make that joke sometimes. It's getting harder to laugh at it.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. It sucked.
If we don't get it from the Delta, maybe we'll get it from the Theta or the Lambda variant.
The
So-
lambda moo.
With
Yeah.
all this time, since you are normally working at home by yourself anyways, doing
Yes.
your creative process, did you find it easier or more
Lonely.
difficult to be now purposely locked down forced to do your work?
I mean, yeah, no, it's about the same, man. I really like doing the cons just because I kind of it's just an outlet to be able to hang out with other people who do weird stuff and hopefully appreciate it. So I do miss that tremendously.
Yeah.
But I mean, I've found the YouTube community over the last year, and they've been awesome. And I do my best work between 1 and 5 in the morning anyway, so doesn't really affect my work output.
So for those
Still getting
people,
stuff out pretty.
so for those people listening on the air, which is going to be broadcast later, but there are some people on our YouTube page, which they can always check it out. And there's some people in our audience, our live studio audience here. Why don't you show them some of your works? That way people can get familiar with what you do.
Okay, well, the thing I do with the cons, which is what I'm doing right now, is I take a little piece of clay and I start making stuff. So here's a bunch of different colors, and I was going to start making a little starro. So we'll see if I get them done. See if I get them done before the episode's over. But I also make anything. So when it's over, hopefully
I am not leaving the show. I want to show you something Shadow Rabbit did for me. Hold on.
He's going to go on and pull up on our YouTube page. So is there like a time limit you give yourself to do your projects, Shadow Rabbit?
No, man, I don't put a time on it. You know, I look at it more like mercenary work. You know, you get a job, you go do it, and if you finish it quickly, you can just lie in the sun a little bit longer.
Is it something that, as they say, sculptors, because that's what you are,
You just got to think about it.
that the image is in the piece of clay, or does it form as you make it?
I am but a vessel. I don't really plan stuff out ahead of time, man. I find it cathartic playing with clay. It helps me get out all the many weird things that that I've got going on up here, I guess. So if people give me a commission, they want it to look like something. Hopefully it comes out towards the end of it looking a lot like it. I don't get too many complaints, so that's good. But you know, I mean, I really making stuff makes me happy, and hanging out with other weird people makes me happy and inspires me to keep wanting to do this. So
What's the biggest piece you've ever made? Because some of those range in size quite a lot.
So I'm working with epoxy sculpt right now. So it's a 2-part putty basically. I was doing like polymer clays for a long time, but this stuff I like a lot. It's you get about an hour of work time on it, you know, per mix.
Right.
And gets really hard after it dries. It cures without smell, and you don't have to cook it. So that means I can start embedding stuff like you know, lights and really anything. You know, I can work really mixed media on them. And if you don't have to cook it, you don't have to be you know, beholden to whatever size oven or Jimmy rigged kiln you've got in the garage. Mine is an old smoker that I found, by the way. But so yeah, so now I can make stuff, you know, pretty big, you know, without too much consequence.
Wow.
Oh,
That is very cool.
And again, I can put like lights in it.
Wow, that is awesome.
All
So-
kinds
That's
of stuff.
incredible.
That is seriously cool.
amazing. So everybody,
You need my
Check this
you
out.
need my mailing address, Louis?
Absolutely, man.
All right.
It's all commission work, so you know,
Cool.
hit me up with whatever
That
floats
is
your boat,
insane.
man. Weird stuff costs a little extra, but other than that, man,
How
aim to
What do you
please.
consider weird?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, when we get the Buddy Scalera.
Three guys are all like,
old school
"What's
action
weird?"
figure, that's
What's weird? What kind of fetish can I get through this?
Hey, man, you know, I'm just a dream weaver. Tell me what's on your mind, we'll make it happen.
it's exactly what I did. I was talking to Shadow, and then I said, I love my dog. My dog's the sweetest dog. If I had to think about what she would be a flower child of the 60s. So I sent Shadow some pictures, and he made this amazing thing of my dog as a flower child. And even with my dog's trademark little white
That's
spot over there.
fantastic.
When my
But
wife first met
that's-
Shadow, she's like, "Oh, we should get him
That's-
to do our dog." We'll
Yeah.
get
That's
on that.
incredible. That is incredible.
Yeah. But
Thanks, man.
yeah, that's he did an amazing job.
No,
Amazing job.
dude, thank you. I mean,
He's very talented. Anyway,
How do you get into something like that?
this is just what I've been doing, you know, my whole life. I mean, since I was a little kid, you know, just have a piece of, you know, non-drying clay and making little monsters and dinosaurs and soldiers and whatever, just playing with them, you could
So
do anything.
Cool.
Play-Doh was heaven, right?
Yeah, man. I mean, still is, I got kids now and they want to play with Play-Doh or clay. It's like, all right.
But you
have
can eat
chosen
the
wisely.
Play-Doh. You can eat the Play-Doh, but you can't eat the clay, right? That's rule number one. Rule number one: do not eat the clay.
Yes, don't eat
You're
the
not
clay.
technically
Yeah, don't eat
supposed
the
to.
clay.
Don't eat the
You can eat
Play-Doh.
anything one time, but don't eat the clay.
You can eat it one time.
You can eat hemlock once.
Yeah, but
We don't
that's me being
recommend
funny.
it.
Don't eat clay. Don't eat stuff.
No.
Don't eat stuff.
Yeah,
No. If you can't buy it in like the food section of the grocery store,
yeah.
don't eat it.
I would like to continue kidding, but someone might take it serious. So yeah, please
Yeah.
do not put anything that's not food in your face.
Camp and Radio
Yes.
does not condone people putting stuff that they can't. That's not edible.
Look,
I
Mark,
swear to God, I'm working up like a little card to go with my sculptures now. It's like, hey, thank you so much. Don't eat these.
don't eat these.
Please
Well,
don't eat these.
Do you
Mark, do
make
you wanna
sure
be
they don't have the
responsible?
smell? Do you make sure they don't have that smell that entices the kids to eat them?
What smell entices kids to eat them? I'm not
All-
like spraying
All of them.
spraying pixie
Any
dust on it
smell
or something.
entices
Yeah.
kids to things.
All the
You spit the
smells.
thing, they'll put it in
Taste.
their mouth.
My kids will chase each other with their
3-year-old son won't
diapers,
eat
man.
Anything. Yeah, my
Yeah.
3-year-old
Exactly.
son will eat anything as long as it's not dinner. If it's not
Right,
dinner,
Yeah.
no.
If it's chicken
Otherwise,
nuggets and
goes in the
peas, they
mouth,
won't
yeah.
touch it.
Yeah.
Kids will eat paste for Christ's sake. I mean, they'll eat anything. But yes, they won't
Let's
eat
talk
food.
about Tide Pods.
Yeah, Tide Pods. I was gonna say,
Oh,
Mark,
Tide
do you want to
Pod.
be responsible for the next Tide Pod thing? Because like eating
See,
shadow rabbits.
I won't make I just know I had something really funny I'm thinking, but I won't make it on live video.
Thank you.
The comment.
Thank you very much.
Oh, go
I-
for it.
I can say that despite that you're a vessel, as you say, and I remember when you were on our show, I used to press you on what is the weirdest, craziest thing you make, and you said you'll make anything. So I would say you wouldn't make
I just
clay that
wanna
looks
make
like
people
food.
smile. I don't care, man.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
That's how
This
they
thing's
do
gonna
make-
look like a gummy bear when I'm done with it, probably.
But like they do use like clay and artificial materials to make like a lot of the photos you see of food and hamburgers.
This is
Yeah, a
true.
lot of the food, in those isn't really food. I mean,
Yeah, no, it's all like
the
it's
Actually,
like
most
what
of
coffee
it's
that's not
3D
actually
printed
coffee in
now.
that cup.
3D
What was that,
printed.
D?
Most of it's 3D printed now.
Really?
They use the clay for soft things like cheese on your hamburger,
Mm.
cheeseburger, or lettuce, tomato, pickles, that kind of thing. But like the burgers and buns, most of them are like 3D printed.
Wow.
I came home
didn't know
last
that.
night and my wife was watching something on her phone and I hear them saying that they're going to start 3D printing protein made from vegetables for food
Mhm.
purposes.
Yep.
And I'm like, part of me is like, that's really cool because clearly we're getting to that almost Star Trek replicator. And then another part of me is like, I don't trust that.
But you
I
saw
want my
soil
food
and green, right? You were
grown.
like, this is soil and green.
Yeah, it's soil and green. Like, I don't know,
I
like,
want it
how is that
humanely
even
sourced
close
for
to-
$3 an hour by people who get no
Right.
breaks?
Basically.
Listen, if it comes with a card that's got Shadow Rabbit's name on it, don't put it in your mouth.
Absolutely.
There you go. That's the warning. That's the warning.
There was a
Um,
show on Amazon where it was like not called Afterlife, but it was all about like being digitally uploaded was the name of the show. Has anyone seen this show?
I have not.
And
No.
they reference like basically having 3D printers making food. And I'm like, oh my God. So they must know it's coming and they did it.
See-
It kind of disturbs me.
You
If
see
anybody
that?
would know it, it would be Amazon, right?
Of course it'd be Amazon. Amazon will put it out.
You see that,
Yeah.
Shadow Rabbit? You're on the cusp of the future right here.
Hey man, we're always on the razor's edge. Yeah,
You
I mean
gotta
that'd be
go to
kind
the
of cool,
5th
man.
page of Google to figure out what it's made from.
Oh.
Yeah.
So
the-
you don't use paint, right? Everything is the color of the clay itself.
yes, sir. Yeah, I never was much for painting. I can finger paint a little bit, but yeah, I just have I mix my own waxes and stuff now, so
Oh, wow.
just have a
okay.
ball of
So you
colors.
take the
and-
colors of the clays and you mix it together to get the clay you want per
Yeah,
spot.
pretty much.
So has there ever been a
So-
situation where you needed a color and you didn't have it and you just had to work around it, or you just go to the clay store and they know you by name and they just give you tons of clay?
No, I mean, you know, you can get all kinds of whatever's got the right dye, coloring to it. You can mix in actual, food grade dyes and stuff like that too.
Oh, okay.
Did you say food grade dyes?
Don't put it in your mouth, Chris. Don't put it in your mouth.
I use non-toxic stuff. I mean, I've consumed a lot of this. Honestly, it's kind of a concern of mine. I went out doing what I loved, and what can you say?
You're gonna need to
But,
make a clay statue of yourself with like an X through it, like the Ghostbuster sign of you eating it, and like, don't eat this stuff.
If it comes to it, But,
You think Ghostbusters? I think Roadhouse, where like they got a sign in the bathroom says "Don't eat the big white mint." I'm in hog heaven.
pull the guy's
yo.
throat out.
So, we're almost out of time for our we're getting close to our break. So, Shadow Rabbit, do you want to throw out your social media stuff? You want to mention where people can find you, mention people commission you, and what kind of price range are we talking? That's important to know.
I will work with you on the prices. Obviously, I mean, I can't do something crazy expensive for super cheap, but I mean, I'm not trying to price anyone out here, Work with me on it and we'll make something awesome for,
So no one
both
should
of our
come to
price
you
ranges.
and go like, "I want a 2-foot high, 3-foot wide bust. I'm going to pay you $20, but give you great exposure."
Yes, I mean, exposure is awesome and I really appreciate everyone's time. But sadly, at this point, these materials are sort of expensive. So, I mean, I always enjoy meeting new people and getting that high five. But, I mean, work with me. I'm not trying to rip anyone off, and I don't nickel and dime and any of that
If
stuff.
you were to give a rough estimate, that Pickle Rick, what would something about that size be?
I'll work with you for 300 maybe on that.
That's good. That's
Sound
fine.
about fair?
Real quick, where do you buy the clays? Like at a Michael's or
All over the place. I mean, I'm working the larger hardened stuff is Epoxy Sculpt by Aves Studio.
Okay.
There's other ones, Magic Sculpt and other.
Do you still go to a
two-part
store? Or you
epoxy
buy it
putties.
online?
He has a
Buy most of
supplier.
it online now. Yeah,
Yeah.
He got a guy.
Supplier
He
now.
got
a guy.
He got a guy.
He's got to
I'm buying
connect.
enough of it. And then the waxes I mix myself. It's just non-drying clays and different type of waxes that
Remember,
give it
kids, the
type of
first one is
consistency
free.
you like. Yeah.
So
Take
throw
it.
out your social media places and your website so where people can go and
You
to
can
get
find
you.
me on the Instagram at shadowrabbit_clay_guy because it's a name apparently. So, and you can hit me on my website, www.shadowrabbitart.com, or you can throw my signal in the sky or say my name 3 times in the mirror, whatever gets you off. I don't care. Happy to work with anybody, and I really appreciate everybody.
All right. So with that, we're going to take our break and we'll be right back with It Came from the Radio.
Hey everybody, this is Todd McFarlane of the record-setting Spawn comic series. And if you're looking for any kind of cool conversation about creators, about entertainment, about all that good stuff, you go to It Came from the Radio. You're listening to the right spot.
Hi, you've heard my voice open and close the show. Now we want to hear your voice. If you have a business or product, you can record a commercial here. We offer 30 and 60-second spots. For more information, contact Mark at mfc_studios@hotmail.com.
During the month of June, get ready for Sinister War, Infinite Frontier, and Extreme Carnage at Cosmic Comics and Games of Baldwin. And join our membership program where you can save 10% on every purchase. The Long Island Tropicon is coming this July through August. Come to the store for more details. Cosmic Comics and Games is open Wednesday from noon to 8, Thursday from 2 to 7, Saturday and Sunday from noon to 5. That's Cosmic Comics and Games of Baldwin, located at 846 Merritt Road in beautiful Baldwin, New York. Call us at 516-763-1133. Thank you and stay safe.
This is Quentin Flynn, popular voice actor known for Axel, Camon, and Raiden from the Metal Gear series. And you're listening to It Came from the Radio. Stick around.
Hey guys, this is Christy from Custom Cakes by Christy. I want you to know that I'm here for you. I'm keeping my private kitchen open for any needs your family may have. I've been focusing on breads, soups, muffins, quiches, and other basics, but I'm still accepting dessert orders as well. Please follow my Facebook for immediate pickup items. Private message me for custom orders. Custom Cakes by Kristy, INC, KRISTY. Text me at 631-606-8166.
Hey, I'm Mike Kingston, the writer and creator of Headlocked. And I am WWE Hall of Famer Jerry the King Lawler. And guess what you're listening to? You're listening to It Came From the Radio.
The Comic Book Depot has been in business since 1993. Your one-stop comic book shop for comics, gaming, and collectibles. The Comic Book Depot club membership is $15 and gets you 15% off new comics, back issues, graphic novels, and 10% off comic book supplies. Located at 2847 Jerusalem Avenue in Wantagh, New York. Contact us on Facebook for curbside pickup because new comics are back. For more information, get Alan the call at 516-221-9337. The Comic Book Depot.
Hi, this is Amy Jo Johnson, writer-director from the film The Space Between, and you're listening to It Came From the Radio.
If you had any honor, you would listen to sci-fi.radio, the sci-fi for your Wi-Fi. Kapla! Meet Grimlock having fun on It Came From the Radio. Greg Berger also.
Now, back to our show.
And welcome back to the Came From Radio, the Big Apple Con. This is your host, Mark Torres, speaking for our 47th live show, virtually distancing, of course, courtesy of the East Meadow Public Library, where they have tons and tons of new program each and every single day for free. You guys want to check it out? You can go to www.eastmeadow.info. And beyond our show, they have tons of other things like crochet, they have yoga, they have story time, they have movies, they have tons and tons of free stuff. So guys, you should always go check out. And our show is on the second Wednesday of every month. So you can join us there. Go on to www.eastmeadow.info. And I am here with our very own Pronto Comics, Dominic Definition Man Sperano.
Hello, everybody.
And we have our guests who we're speaking to, with, and about. We have awesome Shadow Rabbit clay artist, Shadow Rabbit.
Hello again.
We have from the Comic Book School, we have Buddy Scalera.
Hey, everybody, it's Buddy Scalera. Nice to see you out there in Radio Land.
We have D Alley.
Hey, everybody. Nice to be back.
We have AA Rubin.
Hey, guys, what's up?
And we have Kris Burgos.
Hey, guys.
So we're going to be talking about the Comic Book School. So, you know, it's funny. I have to mention that I've been seeing your advertisements around, and you usually go CBS. And I'm like, is there some type of legal thing going on that you can use CBS?
I was wondering that myself.
We don't use their imagery. There's lots of things that have the initials CBS. We are not the commercial broadcasting
system.
Whatever they are.
System, yeah.
System. Is it system?
Is it system?
Station.
Yeah, I don't know. Station? Station sounds right.
Sam? Who knows? We're Comic Book School. So we're
Doesn't matter.
CBS,
Completely different thing.
and that's good enough for us. So
Yeah.
So what is the Comic Book School? Do you learn about comics? Do you learn how to make comics? What is Comic Book School about?
I guess it's me to explain.
Well, I think everybody's waiting for you to say something.
Do it, buddy.
I was
Do it.
hoping
Explain
somebody
it.
else would answer up. Comic Book School is a community-based learning group that is focused on the craft and business of making comics. And it's not just for people who want to dabble, although we have some dabblers. It is for people whose aspiration is to make comic books their gainful employment. So we spend a lot of time helping each other out. Many of the schools have a different way of teaching. Our way is to build a supportive community on our message boards to work together to have our first comic book publishing experiences. My background is as a Marvel Comics writer, and before that as Wizard. So I have a nice network of colleagues and pros and peers who've been teaching at our live events like New York Comic Con and Chicago and LA and Philly. And over the, I don't know, 2019 to now, we started to migrate all of the learning and education online. And it was pre-COVID. And what we think is the way to go for our community is to give people experiences. We can explain how comics are made, but our way is to put hands on the keyboard. And then I'll pause in a minute to allow the editors in the group to comment. But really, we learn by doing. And, you know, it's okay to not make your first comic book that you put out perfect. But we try to get people over that hump of not being able to do it because they haven't done it. They haven't done it because they didn't do it yet. So we got them over the hump, and our first publication was an anthology that won so far 2 major awards in the industry. We're real proud of that, and we're now working on our. You know, we've only announced 2 of them so far. The third is not announced, although everyone in comic book school knows we just won another award. So I have my editors here and one of my award-winning writers. What did I miss? Comic book school.
You forgot to mention, buddy, that we provide all this education for free, unlike some other places that you might have to pay to have access to the people in Buddy's network. All of Comic Book School's programming, all of the forums, the message boards, all of the information on the website all the resources are entirely free.
And we are not one of those places that pick and choose only the best, top of class. You know, I have been personally mentored by the richest and best people in the world in order to get the top spot. If you're interested in comics, we want you in. And, you know, no matter what your level, we'll work with you to get you to where you want to go, because we all want everyone to succeed. So we work together as a community. We work together to promote each other, whether you're a writer, an artist, a letterer, a colorist, an editor, a newbie to all of this, and you don't even know what any of that means. Like, you can just have seen your first comic, you know, and you're 62 years old, or you can be, you know, 17 and have written comics since you were 4. We like everybody. Like, we don't discriminate. So
how important is it to maintain that free level?
You know, I have to say it's important enough that we accept that we are all chipping in time and money to make this happen. It's a fair question. There are a lot of resources out there that you can learn from. I think what's more important that we try to drive home is that none of us are teaching, including me. We are conduits to people who are expressing what they do on the page. So we don't ask somebody to do an interpretive dance of how they make a comic book and try to explain it. What we just say is just show us what you do, show us how you do it. And we find that many people in the industry are willing to pay it back or pay it forward, because everybody in comics knows that somewhere along the way, someone helped them and gave them the hand up. And a lot of these people are now using this to pay back. So we're trying to keep this free. We will at some point sell swag or some other collateral materials to keep expanding what we do, but we would really like to keep the core of the learning free so that there are no barriers for creators who want to explore this, because you know, writing a check can be a barrier for some people, for others not. So at some point we'll be in a better position to either accept donations or sell swag, but ultimately right now it's pretty important for us. We all donate a lot of time to this to keep this free.
That's awesome. Dominic, you got a question
really
for the
awesome,
group?
man.
Dominic?
No, because
you
I don't-
got lost there for a second?
No, it's just like I've known Buddy since 2009. I went to actually when he was doing, and I've said this story many times, he was doing the panels at New York Comic Con, and if it wasn't for Buddy, I wouldn't have met several people, and we wouldn't have created Pronto Comics. And actually, the person that I met should be our guest next month, Achilles Yadel. So because of Buddy and because of how his particularly creator connections, which he's been kind to have me come and talk at for like well, up until COVID, basically, until COVID destroyed everything. There wouldn't have been a Pronto Comics if not for Buddy. So I don't have any questions because I know the story very well and I know what Buddy does, and I just think the world of him. I think he does an amazing job promoting comics.
Aw, so sweet.
We all kind of feel that way.
So why don't you talk a little bit about the creator connection? I thought it was a really cool idea. I've actually been to a couple. I've met Buddy like 10 times for the first time, every time. And I always have to remind him the story of how we know each other. It's like, oh yeah, and I remember you, which is kind of cool that you know so many people, but it's in there. So how did that come to be?
In the earliest days of New York Comic Con, I mean, I started comic book school years and years ago with
the wizard stuff.
Yeah, my wizard stuff. You can see my photo reference books behind me. But when the very first New York Comic Con hit off, Dominic, do you remember what year first NYCC was?
I think it was 2007, 2008.
Yeah,
one of
so
those.
it was pretty early, and
Yeah.
I hooked up with them, and I was like, well, we'll do educational panels, and they basically gave me a room for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and they were like, okay, this is your room, and there was basically 9 hours to fill in each room each day, and I was like, I don't have that much to say, and it was just trying to figure out things that people needed. But the one thing that I felt was missing was this connection. I would see people walking with a portfolio. I might see Dee walking with that large portfolio, obviously full of art, but I don't know, is she an art buyer, a collector? Is she an artist? What? I don't even know. We don't even know what's in there. And it's awkward, even though I'm very outgoing, to walk up and introduce yourself and ask that question. I thought, well, there's got to be a better way to make a human connection. So once you make that connection is what bridges that conversation. I just thought, well, what if we could bridge that conversation? And it was just kind of made up on the spot. And it worked. And Dominic was one of the early people, and it has evolved. Like in the early days, we didn't know what exactly it would be. So we did the first one, and then in the second one, I said, well, I'm going to show you what a follow-up email looks like when you get introduced to people. Ari, you know this one, where I'll say, this is what a follow-up email, and I'll tell people are looking in their hands on it, I go, take a picture of that. And then everybody takes their phones out because they don't know, they haven't had that experience. So what we're trying to do is say, meet people. And then Dominic, don't just meet, if you're a writer, don't just try to meet an artist. Meet everybody. Meet the people who are here because you're like-minded people. Cosmic forces have put us all together. Let's, keep that rolling. So it was really out of the observation how challenging and difficult it is, even for an outgoing person like me, to walk up to somebody and strike up a conversation about making comics together. And it just continued to evolve. People like Ari, people like Dominic, people like Kris, who would come year after year, would then give me ideas. And somebody like Dominic would go, hey man, I published a comic based on what we did in Comic Book Creator Connection. I was like, oh, well, come up and talk about that. So it's a living thing. I feel like I lit the fuse, but I think really the explosion is everybody, and everybody takes credit for it. It's a shared credit.
I find that it's like professional speed dating without any type of romantic interest involved. I really like how you work that. Like you are so interactive with everybody, and a lot of artists are very introverted. So how do you manage to overcome that in this situation, trying to show people stuff who are introverted?
Well, we do a demo, and I think Dominic is definitely one of the people. We would literally demo in the front of the room. It's like, come to the front of the room, and I'd say, here's how this is going to go. Dee, come over here. You're going to stand here. I'm going to say, Dee, I want you to meet Dominic. Dominic, you're going to meet Dee. Dee, what do you do? I'm a writer. Okay. Dominic, what do you? I'm an inker. Okay, cool. Talk. And then we walk away. And what that does is it leaves these two people with, oh, you're right. Oh, and then we would demo that. We would demo how that is going to go, because guess what? Nobody teaches you that. So that moment that we go, oh, that's how that's done. Yeah, that's it. Now do your thing.
But it's not only that you demo it. Buddy's actually very active in the panel, and if he sees somebody not talking to someone, he will pull them over and bring them to somebody else and say, "Okay, you guys talk now." And he does that throughout the panel for people who are not as outgoing, maybe.
Buddy actually drafted you because he drafted me a couple of times, and I started like helping make the room work too. So it's very genius.
It's one of those things where I went to San Diego for the first time 2 years ago before the end of the world hit, and they have their own form of it, but it's literally like speed dating where it's like you're sitting at a table, you do have to pre-register for it, you're sitting at a table, and it's like the artists are gold, so you guys don't move. The writers are the ones that have to shift seats, and it's like, okay, this is very organized and it's nice and cute and everything, and it was nice. But the thing about the way that Buddy does it with the Creator Connection at New York Comic Con is that it's so chaotic, and it's like there's a funness to the chaotic, and it's also one of those things where it's a challenge to the people that are there, where it's like you're kind of always on the prowl for who is not speaking to somebody. Let me go grab them. And it's like you want to be like imagine like there's like separate armies, like the Greeks against the Trojans, and they're staring at each other down, like screaming at each other. It's like you're ready to go, and Buddy's just like, okay, we have 90 minutes, guys, go, click. And then it's like the battle, just people just going at it, and it's really fun to be part of those connections because you get to meet everybody, and you also develop strategies that work good for you as far as like how to meet people in your own way. Like I'm that guy that like I don't remember faces at all. I'm horrible with faces and putting names to faces. So I hold, like when someone gives me their business card or whatnot, I have them hold up the card to their own face while I take a picture in my camera.
There you go.
And then and it's one of those things where it's like, okay, I'll take, instead of looking through my business cards that I've collected, I'll look through the photos first and be like, oh yeah, I remember the conversation I had with this person. Let me find their card. Okay, let me email them back after this. So yeah, it's a strategy that I've developed over, I think I've been doing the connection 9 years now. Jesus.
Well, and by the time you got to 2019, it seemed like a well-oiled machine. Like I had never been to a con before, and 2019 was my first con. Like, way to get one in right before the end, right? And I walked in, and Buddy just took one look at me and goes, "I like you, Red. You're coming with me." And he led me around. Like I was like, "Oh, have you met my friend Ed?" And everybody's Buddy's friend. Like you're immediately Buddy's friend. So
Buddy's
I went
everybody's
there,
buddy.
and I was not. I mean, I am outgoing, but like I was not in a place that I was like, I'm going to meet people. I'm going to shake everybody's hand. And Buddy was just like, "This is my friend Aaron. Have you met Aaron? Have you met Dee? This is Red. Okay, Red, you're Irish, right? This guy looks Irish. Talk to this guy." And every 5 minutes he'd come back. And I was like, "You must really like me." He's like, "No, he does this to everybody. That's just Buddy.
That's Buddy.
Everybody's Buddy." And he became my comic book guy. He's like, I refer to Buddy as my comic book guy. And I met all of these people in the community because he just is that outgoing and that involved and that passionate about helping people out.
So Buddy, is that your
And
real
you
name,
meet all
Buddy?
these people, right? And then he gives you these questions. Like he says, "You're an inker, you're, an artist. What projects do you have? What could you help you with? What could you help them with? Like, have you read the other's work? Do you have a social media exchange?" Like he gives you just everything you need to make the connection. And then, within a week, he goes, "Look, if you do nothing else," and this is the thing that I learned from Buddy that made me like the part of this community that makes me happy to be here. He goes, "If you do nothing else, follow up with the people you got business cards from, or from Kris's pictures, right? Just follow up, just send him an email." Right. And the 6 or 7 people that responded, I'm still talking to post-pandemic, and I'm working with most of them in comic book school, making things,
That's
doing
awesome.
things, getting things done. And it's like, I didn't have that before.
Yeah, the
Before
follow-up
Buddy.
is the hardest.
Yeah.
Trying to get people to really follow up, because when I first connected with Achilles, I must have gotten about 20 cards or so when I was an inker looking for inking. And he, 3 months later, because this was when Comic-Con was in February. So in May, he's like, hey, and he finally gets back to me like, so I'm working on this thing. With a bunch of people, we're going to put together a book, which turned out to be like Pronto's first anthology. He's like, I'm going to need an inker. We're going to need an inker. And like, but out of 20 people, like one person eventually gets back to you. That's the hardest part. But the thing I like the most about Creator Connections, and I've heard buddies scream it out, is like, he'll get a writer, he'll get an artist, but then he'll find an inker and he'll find a letterer. And then he's like, I've got a creative team. And then when I'd be sitting at the panel, he's like, now go talk to Dominic. He's a publisher. And he'd like try and make a whole team ready so you can make a book. And if you can get people that really follow up, then you can actually produce something.
And if you could get those unicorns, those letterers,
The
when I
letterers.
went, there were, you know, a wall of writers and a wall of artists. And then there were a
Right.
couple people who were colorists, and there were 2 inkers. And then there was one letterer, one unicorn
Letterer.
in the
The letterer.
group.
You want
And
that
Buddy was
letterer.
just like, you're going to meet a lot of people today.
Yep, you want that letterer.
And the other thing is that since the pandemic, since we haven't been able to do this in person, that we've brought it online with the forums that we have. There are forums at create.comicbookschool.com, and there is a Creator Connection section on there, but there's also an annual anthology where we have, which is new for Comic Book School. We never had, there was Creator Connections, but there was never you were on your own to make your comics. And now, over the last couple of years, we've been working on putting out these anthologies that Buddy mentioned in his introduction. And people who meet through our community now actually have an outlet. We have them do an 8-page story. We did the first one was unthemed. We're working on the second one now that's getting ready to be released hopefully by New York Comic Con this year. And you can meet someone through Comic Book School, you can start working with them, and then you can actually publish a story with the people you meet through our community now, which is something new. And the anthology's name is actually Creator Connections after the panel. The first one was panel 1, and the upcoming one is going to be panel 2. So that's, even if you are familiar with Comic Book School and you've been to Buddy's panels before, this is something new that you might not be aware of.
Yeah, I think what Ari brings up also is this idea that you know, every year you would see very similar faces, not always the same. You'd see a lot of the repeat faces, but year after year you would say like, hey, what did you produce in the last 365 days? And they would often have not made enough progress. And what happened was Dee and I were talking after the show, and Dee had a vision of like a 12-issue maxi series that would spin off into, you know, its own thing. And I was like, you just do 8 pages. And she was like, wait, what's 8 pages? And I'm like, that's the standard backup for Dark Horse, Marvel, DC. Just do an 8-page backup. And you know, Dee and I both come out of marketing and advertising agency life, and we built a project plan together. And I sort of challenged her. I was like, write a project plan. I just figured, all right, who knows if they'll ever see her again. And she followed up, and I thought, wow, this is a person who's really going to go somewhere because she follows up in a business-like way. And then we started to bring other people in, like Ari and Kris, and just people who we knew. The anthology, we thought, okay, well, if we have Dee's story, we'll have one, maybe we'll get one other from another. We thought maybe we get 2 or 3, and we didn't even know what we would do. Maybe we'll put it in the anthology. That kind of came later. To be completely transparent, we didn't really have much of a plan. By the time we were done, it was 144 pages of anthology. Of the 32 contributors, I think 27 of them, this was their first published credit. And so far it's won 2 awards. As you know, there's more coming. But more than anything, it tipped over for a lot of people, right? Somebody like Kris, who was like, you know what, my property is viable. I'm going to continue publishing it under my own imprint. And we have other people who are seeing the viability of their work. And it was just sort of like, you just had to step over that line. And we've enabled people to step over that line. And now we're bringing additional people in. Like Ari has this aesthetic of saying, can we put prose with illuminated manuscripts with prose with pictures? We were like, sure, why not? No, it's free. You don't want to read it, you don't have to read it. But what this has done is then given other people an opportunity to get their name in print. I'll be publishing my first short story in almost 20 years because Ari was like, well, let's do some prose, right? So it's not just me, I got a lot of the credit for it. And that's because I'm a huge egotist. But really, I think other people deserve a little bit of credit. So I'll throw a breadcrumb to Ari, a very small one, that he did reignite my passion for writing prose. So it's a little bit of everything for everybody, but I will note something. As Kris used a word that is sort of emblematic of the way I work, as all of my editors know, is completely, utterly chaotic. I am unpredictable. I will here. What are we working on? Hold on. And I shoot an arrow in the air and I go, wherever it lands, that's what we're working on. So I am as unpredictable as any, as probably more. And these guys guide me to completion on things because I'll just keep shooting arrows. Everything sounds fun. So I think the reason Comic Book School is seeing the level of success it is because of the discipline of the editors that you see here on the screen.
Well, that is super awesome. We're almost out of time. So let's throw out the social media stuff now so we can get to our final thoughts. So we will start with Kris. You have social media. People find out more about you, Comic Book School, and whatnot.
Yeah, you guys can follow me on Instagram, Tales Beyond. On Facebook, Tales Beyond as well. That is my imprint. That's my label. Started during the chaos of the end of the world. And on Twitter, it is Live Tales Beyond.
D?
I'm actually D Alley on Facebook. You can find me on comicbookschool.com and Comic Book School forums as D Alley. I also go by Redheaded Ed because those are my initials. I know it's a lot. I'm sorry. It's REDHEADEDED on Twitter.
Hey, Rubin.
Are you on Instagram?
I am on Redheaded Ed on Instagram, but somebody stole it. So it's all threes. It's R3DH3AD3D3D. Hard to say over the radio. Strongly suggest you get me on Twitter and then the link is there.
Hey, Rubin.
So you can reach me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook at The Surreal Ari. I'm also on Comic Book School forums. I have my own website, aarubin.com as well. And I did want to mention that on the Comic Book School forums now, we are having a cover contest for our latest anthology. So if you are an artist and you are interested in illustrating the cover for the next anthology, go to create.comicbookschool.com, sign up for the forums, and Kris actually has a post up there about all of the rules involved in that contest.
Nice. So you're the last one, buddy.
You can find me at all places at Comic Book School on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, and apparently on TikTok. All the kids are on there, and now I am too. But I think the most important place that you can find me is on the Comic Book School message boards. Dominic is going to be joining as well. So we're all very excited to pull the Pronto team into the message boards. Thanks for announcing that tonight, Dominic.
You're welcome.
We appreciate your support.
News to me. Thank you.
All right. So we are almost out of time. We have about 3 minutes to go. So with 30 seconds or less, we want to have your final thoughts. So Dominic, Pronto Comics, Dominic Definition Man Ferrano. You have a final thought for us.
Yes, stay home and make comics, not variants.
That's nice. That's nice. Shadow Rabbit Art, do you have a final thought for us?
Yeah, man, just take care of each other and yourself. Life doesn't get any easier ever.
For those who can't see
be
it,
brave, treat each other nice.
So for those listening on the radio, you can go to our YouTube page and you can see the items that he finished doing the star. What is it? What's the name? The star? Starro? Starro. He did the Starro.
Yep.
Buddy, final thought. 30 seconds or less.
Make comics.
Wow, that was quick. Kris, final thought.
Buddy, you stole mine. Make comics. More. And
yes,
follow Tales Beyond. Ha.
There you go.
There you go.
Hey, Rubin, final thought.
I think just keep creating, make comics or whatever else you create, comics, clay, writing, art, anything like that, and stay safe so that we can all meet up again at the various Comic-Cons going forward.
All right, Dee, final thought.
I'm going to actually wrap up everybody's, and I like Dominic's thing about stay home and make comics, not variants. So make variant covers instead, and then come join us on Comic Book School and show us what you got.
So my final thought is this. Thank you guys very much for being a guest on the show. We will obviously be following up with you. So that about does it for this week on the Came From the Radio. Join us right here any week on this radio station. If you miss any part of the show, go to our website, www.itcamefromradio.com. Listen to the archives up in a week or so. Make sure you guys go check out the East Meadow Public Library. That's www.eastmeadow.info. Once again, they have tons of free programs every single day. Our next live show will be on September the 8th, and we will have from comic book creator Achilles Yadel.
Yep.
Aha. So we will see you next time.
You've been listening to It Came From the Radio with Mark Torres. The views of the show's hosts and guests did not necessarily reflect that of the management, owners, or staff of the station. We now return you to your earthly scheduled broadcast.